are you guys? Good morning. Rainy. Very nice. Very nice. Is blinds down okay for you guys? I don't know why they're down.
Right.
Let the beautiful sun. Keep the rain out? Okay.
No, it's because
Oh, because the sun coming in. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense, actually. That makes perfect sense because it's going to be over there later in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which also bums me out about the campus center, with the way they built that, because it has those beautiful west-facing windows, except for the fact that they usually have to close the blinds because the sun gets so intolerably hot. Even in the science building, the same exact thing happens. They have those awesome little study rooms, which feel great in the winter, except every other season they don't feel so great. But that's okay, because Bend only has two seasons, winter and August. So they're okay most of the time. So, excellent. How are the quizzes this week? Anybody try them? Well, one of them you had to. Like you don't have to. I give you a 0 on it. I didn't want to. So I wanted to start with that one first. I haven't looked at the results in Blackboard, but I was hoping you guys could remember what you came up with on that confidence quiz. Do you remember the confidence you got as far as a percentage? And I'm sure you probably do because of one of the last things you did. So did anybody, let me just see a show of hands, did anybody get 80% confidence or lower? Did anybody get 90? 90, we got a 90, we got some 95s, I'm assuming. Did we get any hundreds? So what I wanted to do was I wanted to average what we got to see what we then got together. Just by a show of hands right then, it's clear that 95% was the mode. Because most of you raised your hand with 95. Yes. But some of you got 90s. And you may have felt gypped because you got 90s. I was like, yeah, that pisses me off a little bit. And then some of you got hundreds. And you might think like, well, I thought it was 95% confidence. So I want to drive home on a macro level, even though that quiz was fairly macro. I want to drive home on a macro level what 95% confidence is. And then we can finally kind of let it go. Because I think we've heard this for 4 straight weeks now, what confidence is, what confidence is, what confidence is. Here's like the final summation of all that work. So I got the TI up here. So nobody got 85%?
I did.
Oh, we did. We got 185. Gabe, I'm sorry. You probably felt gypped again. 85. What the hell? So what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and run some numbers through. So we did have an 85. We had some 90s. We had a 95 or 2, and we had some hundreds. Nobody else got below 85 though? No 80s, no 75s, anything like that. It can happen, of course, right? It can happen. All right, so Gabe, you got an 85. Anybody else? Just Gabe? Okay, I'm going to do a weighted average here. How many 90s were there? So we got Tyler, we got Anna, we got Chris.
No.
You got Lucas, 2. 95s. How many got 95s? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's our mode. And then we got some hundreds, correct? We got some hundreds, we got 1, 2, 3 hundreds. All right. So can you tell what's about to happen just by looking at where these numbers distributed? Maybe. Can you good. We definitely got a bell curve. Slight skew with that little 1 right there. That's only because you can't go above 100. But a slight skew happens. But can you see what I'm getting at with why I'm going to take the average, the weighted mean of these? Okay, in case you don't, that's totally fine. It's early in the morning. Let's do a real quick 1-bar stats on weighted list L1, L2. Average confidence we established, 94.6%. Now what the hell? 95, right? It rounds to 95, 94.6%. That's because those of you that got 90, we take those of you that got 100 and donate 5 of their percentage points to you. And the people that got 85 Gabe, we simply take 2 of the hundreds and donate 5 from each to you, and then you're at 95. That's what an average is, right? That's the whole point of an average. It's a balance point. So we can easily balance. Aaron, what percentage did you get? 85, 95, 90 on that quiz? What'd you get? Confidence. I'm going to add you in. I know you just got here. Do you remember? Did you get 95, 90? You got 95. I'm going to throw it in. It's not going to change it much. There we go. Sorry, you hit that as you walk in the room. There we go. Didn't change it much at all. Not enough to be meaningfully changed. But 94.6 rounds to 95. The mode was already 95. If you scroll down to the median's 95. So once again, let's just say it one more time before we get into today. What does 95% confidence mean? What does 95% confidence mean?
95% of the time you're going to catch what you're looking for.
And that's what I need you to remember, huh? That's it. When you see a 95% confidence interval, Brandon nailed it. 95% of the time you're going to catch what you're looking for. That means you're going to miss it 5% of the time. But you're going to catch it 19 times out of 20. And this example was just designed to do that. It was a little bit fictitious, of course. A little fictitious.
No, I got 100.
You got 100. Oh, you got 100 instead of 95. Oh, good for you. That would have actually driven this up closer to 95.
You're talking about
The quiz you guys just did, I'm sorry, I should have waited until you
All of
sat
the
down at
intervals.
least. I got to get excited though. Yeah, the intervals, you actually got 100.
Yeah. all of
So
it.
that would have driven it up closer to good. What I did there was I averaged
so
every,
mad.
I'm sorry. You're walking in with holding coffee. I should have had the decency to let you sit down and take a sip. I just get excited.
I got 100. And
You got 100.
I was shocked.
Well, but that's, here's what actually happened though. Here's class results. That's what actually happened. Poor Dave got 85. He was pissed when he came in, swinging it. You should have seen it. Such a gentle-looking little guy. 90. 2 people got 90s. Tyler was pissed. He was actually upset. 7 got 95s and 4 now got 100. And what I did was I averaged the results. Now look at it now. Because now, Gabe, we picked up another 100 to give you an extra 5. And it averages to exactly 95. It very rarely averages to exactly 95. It's usually 94.6 or 95.2. But it always rounds to 95% as a whole number. And the whole point of this was just to drive home what it means to be 95% confident. 95% is an average. It's an average confidence of the intervals as you go over time. Repeated trials. Repeated trials. If you keep running trials at 95% confidence, that means 19 times out of 20. Not necessarily in your trials, but in all the trials that are run. 19 times out of 20 we're going to catch it. Casey, what'd you get? 95, 90, 100?
I got 90.
90! So that's going to drop us back down a little bit, right? If we throw Casey in there again, it's going to drop it down a smidge. 94.5, 94.6 again. But then as people trickle in, we can keep adding them in and seeing what it reverts to. It's going to revert to 95. You saw that hopefully when you held down F9. Did you explore slides 2 and 3, or tabs 2 and 3 that had the dancing intervals? I love that. That made me so happy. For years I've seen textbooks that had like a static image in them. And they're like, you see by this image, and I'm like, I see by your image you drew 19 out of 20. That doesn't prove anything to me. It only proves it to me if you could hold down a repetitive button and have it do it repeatedly over time, and that's what the whole point of the project was, or the quiz was. And then the third slide is my favorite. The third slide where nothing catches. And that's why it's so important to always include your
Margin of it?
because if you don't, you're going to be wrong. A 95% confidence interval becomes a 5% confidence interval, or worse, more like a 0. So yay! That's why I made it a mandatory quiz. Hopefully it wasn't too much work for you guys to knock it out. It was already set up for you for the most part. All right. Did anybody use Excel 2013 on this one?
Is that the, I use whichever one you get with.
Well, at least 2007. I think is the version. I took the screenshots off 2007, but if you use 2013, hi. If you use 2013, Excel finally listened to our emails. I've been emailing them for years. There's an error in what they calculate. And this, I think I made a footnote of this somewhere in the project. I said, if you can find the Excel error, I'll give you an extra point. I think I said that somewhere in there. When you type that confidence command in Excel, remember the talk we've had about T versus Z? So that was an average baby weight, which is a continuous distribution, which is an average. And we've always learned on small sample sizes, even classic textbooks say this, on small sample sizes, you should use the T distribution for calculating averages. That doesn't, that uses a Z distribution. Excel's built in 2007, automatically uses a Z distribution. But did you guys notice in 2013, if you type in confidence, there are now 3 confidences? One is just confidence. One is confidence norm, confidence period norm, and one is confidence period T. 20 years later, they finally addressed the problem. And the legions of statisticians going, I'm tired of telling you this. And they finally listen, they now have a confidence T. Did anybody use confidence T? Anybody try that one?
I tried it, but it was a different answer than the.
It will be!
So-
It should be! That's badass though. It should be different than confidence because it's based on the T versus the Z. And with a sample size of 20, I believe is what you were sampling at a time.
It was 32, wasn't it?
It was small. I made it small intentionally. I thought it was only 20.
Oh.
How many babies at a time? 20
Oh,
babies at a time? Right, you may have done it 32 times, that's great. But with a sample size of 20, the curves actually look different. The T values are out further, which means the intervals are going to be wider. So it's badass. It's still going to be 95%. But I'm going to rewrite the quiz now so that we use the new version, which is going to be fun. Because now it's 100% correct because they have to T it. Well, I should check their distribution, make sure the distribution is actually right. It is Excel, after all. Cool? That excites me. That one excites me because I'm sorry. Fair? Okay, so now we know, Brandon, thank you for saying it perfectly. 95% of the time, you're going to catch the value you're looking for, which means you're going to miss 1 time out of 20, which probably might upset you, because what confidence can't you have? Can't have 100. The curves go on forever. They never pinch down. So why stop at 95? Why not go for 96? Or 99? Or 99.99? Or 999?
It would take a really big sample and
Okay,
hard to find.
thank you. Number one, there's always a, what's that, there's a business term. There's always a cost-benefit analysis to be done, right? If you're going to increase your confidence, something else has to give. So it's like budgeting. You've got a finite number of resources. If you've budgeted for 95%, to now budget for 99, something has to go. And what has to go? Maybe more dollars to get to that confidence, because you'd have to increase your sample to get there. That's one way that you could do it. Another way is just said, to hell with it, I'm using the same sample, I'm bumping out the confidence to 99 by using a different z-score. You can do that. What's that going to do to the interval you get? Necessarily.
Make it bigger.
It's got to make it wider. More width means less precision. And that might be okay. It might not be. Right? You see what I'm saying by precision? If your interval goes like that, you're not as precise as you were when it was like this. Precise means how close you get to the target. You're going to get close to the target on average, 19 out of 20 times. But how close? That's the measure of the error. Now you can drive that down, Elizabeth already pointed out, with a larger sample. You can go from 95 to 99 and then bring it back down to that same width 95 was by increasing your sample size. But there's one more thing I mentioned at the very end of the day on Tuesday that you also have to accept if you drive your confidence up. You remember what it was? It's okay if you don't. Yes. If you increase confidence, you decrease what's called power. Which means if you want to not be wrong 5% of the time, what is the complement of the confidence, you're going to have to be wrong more in the false negative world. More on that today. And for the next 6.5 weeks, if that's okay with you guys. Because I want to keep talking about that. There are 2 ways to be wrong when you do statistical analyses. 2 ways. Except I did give you guys a link on Tuesday. Somebody has proposed a 3rd way to be wrong. Please ignore that. Okay? I linked up something for type 1 and type 2 error and put it in the extra resources of your schedule page. I thought the synopses of type 1 and type 2 was spot on, and then they mentioned something called type 3 error. It's the first I've heard of it. Please ignore it for a while. It doesn't flow logically with type 1 and type 2. It's like its own beast. Kind of like Ghostbusters 3. Like, you know, doesn't make sense. Cool, for now. It might catch root and become part of the dialogue. It hasn't yet, as far as I can tell. So anyway, type 2 error, which we've been ignoring, rightfully so. There's no reason to talk about it until now. I do want to talk about it starting today. Fair? But thank you for playing along with the quiz, because that's one of my favorite results in this class, is letting confidence show itself.